Every now and then, you find a moment where ideas gain momentum and hundreds of improbabilities come together to create a new type of business that is as exciting and it is to know about and to be part of. I'm Dino. I'm the founder of 3 successful companies, and I'm an innovation ecosystem builder. And what I love doing is working with and through startups and small businesses in Canada to help them grow and scale their business as best as they can. And I really want to welcome everyone here today in the inaugural podcast of what we call Creating Connections. Because in our podcast, we share why it's important to believe in yourself and your idea. In addition, one of the most important keys to being successful in this business world is having a trusted and dependable relationship. And that's why we're here with Ying, with Ross, and Carmine. And I'd love Ying to start off and introduce yourself, and let's get this thing going.
Thanks, Dino, and thank you everyone for having me here. My name is Ying from Cosmopolitan. I have 2 beautiful children. I've been here almost about 20 years now. And I was born and raised in China, and now I'm a proud Chinese Canadian. I love this beautiful country and the city, and I'm so glad that I can raise my children here. I started my own business about 1 year ago after quitting a 14-year-old corporate job, 9 to 5, and it was about time for me to start chasing my dream and start on my own. And after this 1 year, I have learned so much things that I didn't learn for like the 14 years in my corporate job. I participate in as many community events as possible, mainly focus on brand new business, because my vision is to empower small business to better Niagara Falls. And I also volunteer in many other community events such as food drive, parents council, fundraising events and donation, etc. And I'm also Greater Niagara GNCC, Greater Niagara Committee, a Chamber Committee.
Wonderful.
Next.
Hi, my name's Ross Blaine. The only way to describe myself is an anthropologist, business person who acts as a catalyst. When I say acts as a catalyst, what do? When a catalyst comes into any process, their job is to make it work faster and more effectively. But the key to a successful catalyst is at the end, when the process is done, no one ever knows that it was there. And that's what I enjoy doing. I like being behind the scenes. I like coaching people, but I don't like coaching and saying these are the skills. I love mentoring. And mentoring, as Dino will tell you, I never give you an answer. I just make you work through one, don't I, Dino?
I love it. You just pull it out.
So the other thing that I really enjoy, yes, there's coaching, yes, there's mentoring, but there's another thing called being a muse. Have you heard that term? Okay, great composers have muses, great actors have muses. And as a muse, your job is to help people bring forward the vision that they want to achieve. And that's then the mentoring is putting in the tactics to do that. So that's what I do.
It's very impressive, amazing.
That's great. Yeah, so my name's Carmine Mastropierro. I'm the marketing director at a software company. I run my own marketing agency called Wise Media, where we help companies scale up their businesses through digital marketing. And then I also run my own personal online education business, where I mentor people and sell online courses to teach them marketing and copywriting.
That's amazing. Ross, I'm going to hand it over to you because we want to talk about this fantastic book that you have. And you can also mention the new one that's coming out too very soon. So Ideas to Profit is why we're here today.
Well, Ideas to Profit came about because years and years ago, I was working with an organization that was designed to help second generations who were taking over businesses. Okay, greatest challenge they have. What, 80% of second generation businesses fail?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the second generation doesn't know the culture of the business that the patriarch or matriarch has set up. The second generation doesn't know where to start at building a new culture or building the culture that's in the company. And they don't know how to go about analyzing where they are, what their emotional intelligence is. you know, what the claims that the marketing guys are making, are they real? Okay? And so the idea of the book was to set up a whole series of chapters that help you build your case for you to lead your company to make it profitable. First thing in it is the challenge. What's the culture? Okay, and what the next thing is looking at emotional intelligence. One of the best stories for emotional intelligence was Wayne Gretzky. Okay, when Wayne Gretzky went into the WHA, Howie Meeker interviewed him, and he said, "You're 17 years old and you're going in with the WHA with all these big professional hockey players. What do you need to do?" Gretzky thought for a minute, and he said, "I need to put on 15 pounds, and I need 2 big guys on the defense line." Meeker stopped for a minute. He said, "Why 15 pounds?" He said, "Well, I'm so small. If I get hit by one of those big guys, I'll just get crumbled. So I need to put on 15 pounds. Then why the 2 big guys on the line?" "Because they'll keep the puck in the end zone. Because they'll keep hitting it in there. And all I have to be there is at the right place when it comes in to score the goals." If you ever noticed, Wayne Gretzky had as many assists as he had goals. That's emotional intelligence. He knew what his weaknesses was. He knew what he needed to have, that self-reliance. He had the empathy to explain it. All right? And it went through. So those are the sorts of things. There's, I think, 30 challenges in the book,
There's
Dino?
30 challenges.
And
yes.
each one is designed to help you think through, answer the why question. And so that's how the book came about. And then during COVID, I started thinking, I better get this thing done. Didn't make a mistake. Marketing guy, you'll love this. You don't launch a book while COVID's going strong.
Right.
You don't launch a book while COVID's going strong. Let me say that. Timing's important. But I wanted to get it out. So that's what it's all about. Dino, how many times have I said, go check this?
Oh, I can't even count the number of times.
The neatest part about, just to finish off, and I don't want to take too long, is the last chapters in it are all a problem-solving model. Have you ever heard of AeroVironment?
I don't think so.
AeroVironment invented the Gossamer Condor, the Gossamer Challenger, the wingtips for airplanes and wind turbines, the first electric car that was successful, the GM Impulse, the Sunracer car that went across the Australia desert. AeroVironment was absolutely wonderful, and we spent time working on a solar-powered airship for General Motors, carrying several thousand cars, or 300 cars, sorry, my mistake, 300 cars across the Atlantic at 30,000 feet in 7 days, and we brought AeroVironment's chief design officer. And we were sitting in this hotel talking one night, and we said, the problem is most people don't have a problem-solving process. They just jump in and try to fix it. As a matter of fact, we've got a new workshop coming up on at ideas2profits.ca that you can download on. But they didn't know, so we said, let's figure out how people can have a process. Just like we talked about your warm-up,
Exactly.
Carmine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, how can people have a process? And this has the steps. How you define an assumption, how you probe an assumption, how you go about making the network that's needed to do it, and all that sort of thing. So it's quite cool.
And going back actually to the pandemic, how did you market the book and get it out there?
Badly.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. The reason being was I got over anxious. Okay, you got this thing that's sitting there and you're looking at it, and so I thought, do I go the old route? Do I start going to the big publishers and doing it? Do I go to one of these companies that says, pay me $16,000 and I will get you out? Do I go to a radio and television interviews and pay their price to get them to put me in front of things? And I said, no. What I want to do is, and it was a bit of uncertainty actually.
For sure.
Okay, what I want to do is I want to get it out. I want to get it tested. As Yang pointed out, there's a typo in it. Yeah, there's not one typo, there's likely about 30 typos. but I wanted to get it out. I wanted to see it. If I brought my copy of the book that looks like it's worn out, you can see I've marked it all up all over because there's a new edition coming out. There's things to add to it.
It's funny we say that because we always go the why, how, what, and all three of those questions are in the book. And Ying has looked at it, and she's got some interesting, I think, observations and maybe questions to ask.
Yeah, I do. So actually, I want to ask you about the why. I think like when we do our bit, like when we start our own business, we always Simon. I think his name's Simon, right? He's doing a YouTube as
The
a
golden
watch.
circle.
Yeah, the why, and I think this is the hardest question to answer because not everybody understands. So, for example, a lot of other real estate agents out there, and when you ask why do you do what you do, why do you pick being a real estate agent, right? A lot of people will say, oh, because it's an easy job, right? Because it's about financial rewards. But how do you let's say if you have another job as every other buddy, how do you figure out your why?
Well, first of all, it's just not one why.
Yeah.
Okay, the Japanese, Toyota have the 5 whys, and when you ask yourself a why question, don't be settled with the first answer. Ask yourself why you answered it that way, then answer and break it down. And by the time you get to the 5th why, you'll get there. I had a client. I'll give you a really interesting example. He was in the robotic industry. A little company called Tyson in the United States hatches 1 million eggs a day. Did you know that mother birds turn their eggs over in the nest all the time so that the yolk doesn't settle? Tyson had to change these eggs, and they had a bunch of laborers that used to go in and change 1 million eggs. And they went to my client and said, can you build a robot that would rotate these eggs for them? My client said, absolutely. And he did. And for 6 months, it worked beautifully. Breakage was almost minimal, and it worked beautifully. And then one day he gets a call from the head of the production department at Tyson. He says, that machine of yours has it's breaking eggs. He called me and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to have to send my software guys down. I'm going to have to send my engineers down. I'm going to have to send my millwrights down. It's going to cost me a fortune. I said, Ken, why don't you just stop for a second and ask him 5 whys? He said, what do you mean? And I said, okay, first why question. Ask him why he thinks it's breaking eggs. The guy came back and said, well, it seems to get too much pressure in the grippers from time to time. Why does it happen from time to time? We don't know, but it just seems to happen from time to time that it gets too much pressure in the hydraulic fluid. Why do you think it's getting too much pressure in the hydraulic fluid? Well, it seems that there may be cavitations. Why do you think there's cavitations? Well, it might be that the screen that's before the reservoir is filling up and getting dirty. Why is it getting dirty? I don't know. When we changed the oil, it all started. What was the answer?
Changing the oil.
Changing the oil. They put a cheaper oil in. Okay, so to answer your question, why did you become a real estate agent? I asked you that question just a little while ago.
Yeah.
You gave me a few answers, right?
Yes, I did.
And the answer is the final why for why you want to be a real estate agent, from my take, is it that you want to build a community that your 2 kids can grow up in,
Yeah.
that will be safe, and that will keep them here.
True. It's exactly.
Very true.
Yep.
Was there a why?
I never,
for you? Yeah,
like
sorry,
I
go
said
ahead,
that,
yeah.
but never know like that's why, because I want Niagara Falls to be the community that they feel safe,
Yeah.
Has everything that they need, and that's what I want.
Yeah, let's do dig deep. I like
Carmine,
that.
when you dig deep, especially with your Wise media, like, is there a why in there too? Or-
Yeah, like with all the marketing and everything I do. Yeah, I'd say like it was something I studied in school. I was always like really good with tech and computers, always loved it. And then it was nice kind of like making an impact on businesses and people's lives, especially on like the courses I do and like the mentoring and everything like that. It's nice to like teach people it, change their life, teach them skills. So it's like, financial, business, it's a passion too. So there's like a lot of whys, I'd say.
I could ask you a bunch of why
Yeah.
questions, but I won't because you've given right there 3 different things, okay, that are not conflicting, but unless you can figure out what the primary why is,
Yeah.
it gets a little confusing to people.
Right. Interesting. Ying, about what you do in your work and also the community service you've been doing, especially with the elections going on, things like that.
Yeah.
How did you build these trusted relationships? How do you go about doing that, especially when we're looking at what the book talks about? So,
Yeah, I think everything starts with really small, right? And at the beginning, I remember it just, you get to know, people, but instead of just getting to know people and then I just leave. But that's not what I do. I collaborate with them. I go back and visit them. I bring my friends to visit them and give them business. And I also try to collaborate, say, look, like everything is free. I want to promote you on all my social network. If you're willing to give some discount, like I don't want discount. If you're willing to give any discount for every tourist coming here, because I want your local business to be success. Because all small businesses, your dream, right? That's what we do. That's why we want to start our own business, our dream behind it. I want to support them. And so you start with a little thing and you're building the trust. So they have to like and trust you and then to do a bigger thing and become friendship at the end. So it's no more strangers. And same thing, like you say election, and because I've been working with Major for quite a long time now, and I support his idea and how he wants to make Niagara Falls a better place to live and work. That's why I do a lot more community work, get to know people, and that's another reason that why I quit my job 9 to 5, because all I do is I stuck behind the computer. I do the same thing every day. I don't learn anything. There's no challenge for me. So that's another.
It's about adding value, I think, to people's lives, and then they'll probably add it back, and you kind of cross promote, work together. So it makes sense.
that makes sense.
And get to know all you guys. If I was see one little decision, I feel it changes your life. And if it wasn't for me change that decision, I wouldn't have met you guys here, wonderful people, and a lot of other people and opportunities, relationship buildings, and I think it's great. And I really happy that I make that decision, not be fear what I would have lost.
That's incredible.
Ask me a question. Ask me a question of what is my favorite business book. Go ahead.
Okay, what's your favorite business book, and whose is your favorite entrepreneur?
Well, my favorite business book is an ancient Chinese book.
Oh, okay.
I can guess. Can I guess? Is it The Art of War?
Exactly.
Oh, I
Because
know
what
which
you
one it
just
is.
said was what Sun Tzu said.
Oh,
Do
really?
what is small while it's small, because when it's great, it's great. Too many entrepreneurs try to do too many things too fast.
Yeah.
They try to say, I can do it, I can put it into this marketplace.
It's funny, I saw your eyes light up when she started talking, and I could see you thinking of that book.
And well, what's my second favorite one?
We don't know.
Machiavelli the Prince.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Always prepare for war.
Okay, the truth of the matter is, with the Machiavelli the Prince, please don't get me wrong, because you Italians have one problem. You have one problem is you've got so many principalities and so many different interests that they don't always fit together. But what you may know is the Medici family, the old rule, and then if anybody wants it, they can get it. I've got 52 rules, okay? And you practice one rule a week for 52 weeks, and it'll have a dramatic impact. But number one rule is them that's got the gold makes the rules. So when you go into a meeting, understand who's got the gold, who's going to make the decision. The Medicis, as you well know, even got a pope in. But what they did was they were bankers. So when a principality got into trouble, the Medicis didn't go to war. They simply took over the principality. And one of their princes was going to take over a principality. And Niccolo Machiavelli, did I say that right?
Machiavelli.
Machiavelli.
Bravo.
Wanted the job as the counsel, sort of like me as a mentor. So he wrote a book called The Prince. And some of the things he said in it were, number one, okay, always prepare for war.
Right.
Okay, a prince has 2 eyes, should be watching all the time. A prince has 2 ears, should be listening all the time. And a prince should have a small mouth. Okay, and not make major commitments. Now the thing he said was, you'll love it, beware the nobles. You see it in any business. You both had major business experience. It's the middle management that kills innovative ideas. Why? Because they've got the greatest to lose by change. And so Machiavelli's The Prince is filled with, as a matter of fact, I think there's a number of quotes in Ideas to Profits from Machiavelli, The Prince, and Sun Tzu. So, you know, what you said was absolutely on the mark. You're starting small, you're building your network. You saw on the front of my notebook, right? Change causes collaboration. Collaboration causes commitment. You need to know how to do that. And you do it in stages. You start small and work your way up. Anyways, I digress there, sorry.
So I have a question, and it's going to throw you off here, but I've always thought the incandescent bulb, the light bulb, would have never been created or invented had we continuously tried to improve the candle 100,000 times. How do ideas come out of that? Like,
Okay. What if?
the what if question.
What if? Okay, just a bit of interesting sideline. You know that Edison didn't develop the light bulb.
No, we know that. We didn't know that till now. In the
A guy by the
past.
name of Swan, an Englishman. It had two major problems because it was running on direct current at the time. It hung by two loose wires down, and so the ampule with the filament in it was hanging by two loose wires. So what would it do? It get hit, it get broken. The other thing is it'd swing and the filament would break. So Edison bought the rights from Swan. Here's what happened. Edison had a place called Menlo Park. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, what did Edison say? The best thing a good inventor needs is a great pile of junk. How many of you looked at the bottom of a light bulb? If I unscrewed one of those light bulbs and you looked at the bottom of it, do you know what that base is from?
What's that?
A kerosene can. One of his technicians said, how am I going to make this thing solid so it doesn't fit? But I've also got to be able to put it in and put it out, so it needs a coarse thread. And he looked around and he saw a kerosene can, took the top off and said, wow, it's a coarse thread. And when you look at a light bulb even today, you're going to see there's a solder mark on the side and there's a solder mark on the bottom. So all he did was he soldered those wires in, and then he filled the ampule with a matrix to make it solid.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
he didn't. Somebody said, "What if?" Second thing, most people don't know it. Do you know where they got the first strong filament? Do you know where Edison found it?
Where's that?
He was sitting in his office, thinking, and he looked up and saw Bombay fan going around. And he tried over 1,000 different substances to make a filament. And he said, I wonder how that bamboo fiber would do when it got carbonized, if it would stand. He tried it and it worked. He sent his technicians to Brazil to find the best bamboo. Now, we've got other things now, but you see, he didn't invent anything. He just went, what if?
Interesting.
Like, what if it works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just so you all know, Edison made a number of mistakes. One of the things we talk about in the book is ego. Ego is the enemy. That's another great book. Have you read it?
Not that one, no.
Ego is the enemy. That's absolutely a wonderful
I
book.
love that book. I have it.
Yeah, I think I likely told you to read it.
You told me to buy it.
Yeah. But what he wouldn't do is he wouldn't appreciate his technicians. And not anybody, you're from Niagara Falls, you know this. Do you know who created the power station in Niagara Falls?
Tesla.
Okay, do you know the story of Tesla?
A little bit, yeah.
What do you know?
Just his background and all the craziness.
Well, he wasn't actually that crazy. Okay, we wouldn't have cell phones without Tesla.
Yeah.
Okay, and Marconi didn't invent wireless, Tesla did. He bought it from Tesla. Here's the most interesting thing. Tesla came to North America because he wanted to work for the great inventor, Edison. Okay, and he went to Edison, and Edison had direct power, and they had these vaults all around in the streets, and the direct power would go and it would cause fires and explosions and whatnot. And Tesla knew about magnetics. So he went to Edison, and I'll pretend you're Edison. Well, you're much cuter than Edison. But he went to Edison and he said, I can make the transmission of your electricity safer, better, and without any risks. And I'll do it for $60,000. And I'll do it in 60 days. He already had the answer. He did it, proved it would work. And he said to Edison, can I have my $60,000? And he said, you stupid foreigner, don't you know a North American joke when you know it? Do you know what GE actually was supposed to stand for? Not General Electric, General Edison.
Interesting.
He went across the road to Westinghouse. Westinghouse built your thing here. Tesla was actually in this town. Okay? And Tesla, because Edison would not look at people and say, you can do it and collaborate. Okay, Menlo Park exists no longer. As a matter of fact, Meta or Facebook's has Menlo Park now. And, you know, it's just interesting because Edison died poor, died broke. Okay, so the answer is collaboration's everything.
Right, but creating the connections to people, things, places.
Rule number 2, or rule number 3. Okay, rule number 2 in Ross's rules is always think like FedEx. Do you know why?
Why is that?
FedEx years and years ago said they would come up with a value statement that said your parcel would always be delivered by 10. They had the best network, they had the best cross-docking, they had everything that you wanted to do. It failed. You know why it failed?
Why is that?
Because their trucks would get stuck. Have you ever seen a FedEx truck parked where it's going to get trapped?
Always.
No. They are told to park so you can always get away, even if it gets a ticket. You're better to get the ticket and have the thing to the customer on time than lose a customer.
What do you think of that, Ying?
I never thought of like, there
So
think about that.
you go into a business and you always plan your exit. We talked about it in some of your adventures.
Yes, always plan the exit.
Yeah. If you know, and I come back to, Sun Tzu again. Okay, and everybody says, sorry, my mistake, Machiavelli. The end justifies the means. Most people go, oh, that's Machiavelli, that's awful. How can you think that way? The truth is, if you don't know the end, you can't come up with the means. You deconstruct from the end to figure out what the steps are you need to go. So the end justifies the means is absolutely correct.
That's amazing. Well, listen, this has been enlightening. It's been really a great learning experience. I'd like to have a few last minute, words from Carmine, and then we'll go to Ying, and then back to you, Ross. Of, what can we do as the next thing for us to be able to build our business or continue with the connections, continue with the networking that we want to do. So maybe you can give us a little bit of wisdom from your experience as Wise Media. And what
Yeah, in terms of like success.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, I think patience is like one of the biggest things. You probably have some comments on this. I think patience and thinking long term is one of the best things you can do for business, marketing, anything. Is just reverse engineer it. Like you said, have those steps. Looking at the end goal, reverse engineer it, and then just be patient, even if it's years or decades out.
Incredible. Ying, what about? Oh, sorry.
I just had a client, young guy, and he called me up the other day and he was in tears. And he said, I started my business a year ago and I haven't made a lot of money on it and I should have made a lot of money on it. I said, sorry, but the model you used, you didn't do the research on to start off with. You didn't take the time to research it. So it was the wrong model. We just put the new model in place a month and a half ago and you want it to be proficient now. Most businesses do not get any sort of positive cash flow unless they're real lucky, and none of them are real lucky, at 3 years. And by the way, people like, have you ever heard of Stephen Jobs? I see you got his book there.
Yes.
Have you? Oh yeah, and Bill, what's his name? A funny guy with glasses, Bill Gates. It took them over 7 years to get their products up and going. Okay? You need to be patient. Again, I'll come back to one thing. You always figure out what it looks like when you're going to sell the business. what it looks like when you're going to sell the business, and then you deconstruct it there. And you know the things that you're going to celebrate along the way to bring stakeholders in, to bring investors in, and yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Ying, what about with your experience?
So what I think, because my actual experience, the first one I feel is to follow your passion. You have to love what you do.
Yes.
First of all.
Yes.
And second, like he said, like patient, be consistent, be persistent, and don't be afraid to make mistake. And another thing is like, don't be afraid of what other people think if that's what you want to do. And that's like 1 year, I found I have learned so much. And because my job, I need to do a lot of social media. I need to, put myself, my brand, building my brand in social media, in front of camera, or in front of people a lot of times. And be authentic and don't be afraid to show your personality. A lot of times people copy other people's business model, but they're losing their own. So then it doesn't become authentic, right?
True.
And
true.
that would be harder to build your own brand and to be successful.
There's an old saying, to thine own self be true, and it shall follow, as does the day the night, that thou can be false to no man.
Interesting.
Shakespeare.
It is. What I'm hearing here is you have to be driven. When you have a
Yes.
passion, when you're working at something, where you're trying to create something either for the community, for the business, for the family, anything that you're doing, you must be driven.
Okay, and I agree with you. This is a yes and, but here is the codicil that goes to it. Okay, if you're driven without a plan, you're planning to
Agreed.
fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
too many people come in and go,
Remember?
oh.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
And so the answer really gets to be, you need to know that it's going to take time. You need to know that you're going to have to, like Wayne Gretzky, know what you want to do. When he went from Edmonton to Los Angeles, where they made him a star and he didn't have anybody, how would he do?
Was it Wayne or someone said it was if in hockey to get good you have to do 10,000 repetitions or I don't know what the
10,000
number
hours.
was. 10,000.
There's a rule.
Wow.
And there's a great book out on, and there's a great TED talk on it. That's you need to do 10,000 hours before you are really good at what you do. If you're going to be an artist, 10,000 hours. If you're going to be a great pilot, if you got your helicopter's license, you would pay through the nose for insurance until you got 1,000 hours in,
Right.
and then it drops off as you go. Now, 10,000 hours for what you guys do is almost a mandatory thing. And if you know that, it makes it easier to get there. You celebrate, oh, I got 100 hours done and I've got 3 clients done. Whoa, that's really good. I've got 500 hours in, I've got 50 clients, and by the way, my cash flow is positive. As a matter of fact, it's so positive now I can do some more things. I can look at different markets other than real estate. I might look at doing some commercial investment properties or whatever, and you start to build it out. But you have to do those things first.
Right. So I have a question, especially for startup companies, and when they don't really have much budget to work with. And you're one person team, you don't have person do your budgeting, your accounting, marketing, sales, all these things. How do you prioritize? Should I do, let's say, now I gotta spend all this time marketing, now I gotta spend time on sales, and I just losing my own priorities somewhere. How do you plan this?
I understand that, and that's a really good question. And Carmen answered it earlier. Okay, you have to look at your stages. In other words, Carmen's got his full-time hustle,
Right.
or his full-time job, and he's got his side hustle. So he's building things. I'm going to put you into perspective. I don't know all you do, but I'm going to hypothesize, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Number one, you know that you've got a real estate business. You know that to make the cash you need to be able to grow the business, you need to, I'm picking a number here, okay?
Yeah.
You need to sell at least 2 houses a month at an average fee of about $600,000 a home. And that will give you more than enough money for you and your family, the kids to do whatever they want to do, right? And you grow your business into other areas. You get that number, and then you can go to a bank or a mortgage person and say, I want to buy this residential property to add to my portfolio. So you do it in bits. You have to compromise, okay? Being an entrepreneur requires sacrifice.
Oh, that we know.
Definitely, yeah.
We definitely know that.
Okay. Over my career, there's been some things. My ex-wife, the one I married twice, boy, that's dumb. Okay.
That's driven.
My ex-wife never got the idea that in the businesses that I did, that at some point I couldn't take any cash out of them. I had to pay somebody else. Ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's typical. Yeah.
Okay. And unless you are prepared to sacrifice and say, yes, I'm going, because it is risk. But if you don't have a plan, it's not a calculated risk. If you've got a plan, you do your market research. One of the neatest things inside the book is that chart on going to market.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Thank you. Any last minute words as we conclude this? Because this has been fantastic. I just really appreciate having this eclectic team here.
well, I've got something I want to announce.
Yes.
As of October the 26th, my second book's going to come out. It's called Weasels Always Win
Beautiful.
If You Let Them.
Let me timestamp this.
20.
October 26th, 2022.
Yep,
This year.
yep.
Yes.
And already book number 3 is coming.
Nice.
Ooh, and
Okay, and
Impressive.
here's what it is. You're too young, you don't have kids, so you're out of this.
Okay.
Okay, after your
You
kid
get
says,
it.
Mom,
Oh my God.
what was the next statement you made? And you went,
Oh
that's
my
so cute.
God.
Then you said, you know what you said to them? What are your kids' names?
Ryder and Maya.
Ryder, no, stop doing that. How often did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just keep doing it.
With 6 kids, how many times did you say that?
oh, millions of times.
Okay.
Stop doing that.
We all see that as a negative. But no stop is actually when you take 2 negatives, you make a positive, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Good physics.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
take physics, right?
Yeah.
So what you look at is when somebody says no, stop. No is actually throwing up a warning flag for you to look. And all it's saying is, what's my next opportunity? Is my next opportunity going straight ahead? Or is my next opportunity turning left and abandoning it, or right and going a safe way to get there? That's what no means. No means next opportunity. But when you get your next opportunity, you need a process to do it, and that's stop.
Here comes the acronym.
Carmen, as a young, did your father have a hot car?
A hot car?
Yeah.
No.
Did you drive it fast?
Yeah.
Did you come to a stop sign and go, ooh, that means squeal tires on pavement?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Stop is actually start, not stop, thinking opportunities and potentials. And that's all in the book.
So N-O for no.
Next
opportunity.
Yeah.
Stop.
Wow.
Start thinking opportunities and potentials.
I love it.
Isn't that awesome?
I love
You
it.
need to-
I can learn so much from
Oh,
him.
he is an amazing mentoring coach. I have to do a plug here. I mean, he is one of the best I've seen in many years. So
Yeah.
if you ever have an opportunity to work with Ross, you'll always leave with golden nuggets.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
One last thing. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. But one last thing. Anybody who has the book,
Yeah.
anybody who goes to our website, ideas2profit.ca, and has a question, send it to me. I'll gladly answer it. If somebody wants to talk, I will make myself available for a talk. If it's coming down here, and you've seen me do it down here,
Yeah, you've helped.
all it costs somebody to talk to me for an hour is a real good cup of coffee.
He loves coffee. That's all.
I thought you want wine.
Oh, you
we-
wanted wine earlier. We talked about that.
Yeah, but you don't get that. You only get the wine and the whiskey at the cave
wine
conversation.
swell.
Yes.
Dino's actually coming to one of my cave conversations, which is
Yeah,
cool.
he has
Yeah.
an interesting office. He calls it the Cave Conversation.
That's
and
so
it's
cool.
amazing. And I've always left there with, like I say, I call them golden nuggets, but you can use them right away in your business or in your family, things like that. Thinking ideas, things like that. So, again, I just want to thank all of you. I can't say how wonderful it is because it's our first podcast for having the ideas, as I call it, creating connections, and I look forward to other conversations together, especially when the next book's out, Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
No, thank you, Ying. It's a pleasure to have you. And
Thank you.
Carmen.
I'm telling you, it was a pleasure.
I love the way you speak my broken Italian. I love it.